Adolf Hitler died in 1945, but his surname remained behind because of his siblings. And it didn't do them any good to be called a Hitler, thanks to Adolf's infamous reputation. So what exactly happened to the Hitler siblings after World War II? Let's find out. Who can assume that this innocent-looking baby will grow up to become the most infamous mass murderer in modern history? But I guess as you grow up, childhood innocence is stolen by life struggles and wrong ideologies. Something of the same sort happened with Adolf. Adolf Hitler's childhood, like many, had its moments of innocence and struggle. Born on April 20th, 1889 in a small town in Austria, he was the fourth of 6 children. Given the enormity of his crimes, the Hitler descendants have faced significant challenges and have made concerted efforts to distance themselves from him. Hitler's direct lineage ceased with his death, as he had no children. However, he had several siblings, and thus, some extended family members survived the war. His father, Alois Hitler, had children from 3 marriages, producing half-siblings and full siblings for Adolf. The full siblings included Edmund, Paula, and Angela. Let's start with the youngest one, Paula. Paula was Adolf's youngest sister, who lived in relative obscurity and faced many struggles due to her infamous surname. Born in 1896, Paula was the youngest child of Alois and Clara Hitler. She experienced early familial loss, with her father dying when she was 6 and her mother passing away from breast cancer 5 years later. As a result, Paula and Adolf leaned heavily on each other during their childhood. After her mother's death, Paula led a modest life. She moved to Vienna and worked as a secretary and housekeeper. Despite her brother's notorious rise, Paula never joined the Nazi Party, nor was she politically active. Her relationship with Adolf wasn't bad, but it wasn't a close one either. During World War II, she worked in a military hospital and lived under the alias Paula Wolf, a name which was suggested by Adolf himself for security reasons. After the war ended, Paula even got arrested by US intelligence for interrogation, but she wasn't affiliated with any political side, so she was released after claiming limited contact with her brother. After the release, she lived a quiet life in Berchtesgaden, Germany. Adolf supported her financially until his death. Paula passed away in 1960 at the age of 64, remaining the last surviving member of Hitler's immediate family. Adolf Hitler's half-brother, Alois Hitler Jr., had a son, William Patrick Hitler, who was born in Liverpool, England in 1911. His early life was marked by his father's abandonment, leaving William and his mother to struggle in England. In the late 1920s, William traveled to Germany to connect with his infamous uncle, Adolf Hitler. Initially, Adolf arranged for William to work at various jobs, but their relationship soured due to William's demands for better positions and threats to reveal family secrets. In 1939, William moved to the United States, where he wrote an article titled "Why I Hate My Uncle" for Look magazine. When World War II began, he attempted to join the US military, but faced skepticism due to his surname. So, to bring himself into the good books, he directly appealed to the American president at the time, Franklin D. Roosevelt, who allowed him to enlist in the US Navy in 1944. He served in the Navy until he was discharged in 1946 after being injured by shrapnel. After the war, William changed his surname to Hiller in 1946, which later became Stuart Houston, and lived a quiet life on Long Island, New York. He married a German woman, Phyllis, and had 4 sons. One of them, Alexander, even had Adolf as his middle name. However, his name is only a burden, and it has manifested in a life of isolation and secrecy. All 4 of Hitler's great-nephews have lived their lives concealing their lineage from the world. There were even rumors that the brothers had agreed to a pact, which was to remain unmarried and childless so the surname would die with them, ending Hitler's bloodline. But that wasn't true. According to the oldest one, Alexander, one of his brothers was to marry his Jewish girlfriend, but when she found out about the family's past, she backed off from marriage. The 4th brother, Howard, was in fact married to a woman called Marie, but died in a car accident in 1989 on Long Island. Reportedly, he didn't have any children. Most of the Hitler descendants have chosen the quiet way of spending life. but some have spoken out. But what exactly? Before I answer that, could you take a quick second to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the video? Your support keeps the channel going and motivates me to create more great content. Thanks. Now back to the video. Interestingly, some of Hitler's more distant relatives have chosen to embrace their family history in different ways. For example, Heiner Hoegger was Adolf Hitler's great-great-nephew through his mother, Angela Hitler, who was Adolf Hitler's half-sister. Heiner grew up shielded from his infamous family history and only learnt about it during his teenage years. He lives in Austria and has spoken publicly about his relation to Hitler. Hoegger has participated in documentaries and interviews, providing insights into the family's history and the challenges they face due to their infamous ancestor. He dedicated his career to working with conflict resolution and diplomatic organizations. The psychological burden of being related to Adolf Hitler is significant, and it played into Heiner's life as well. Reports suggest that he, too, decided not to have children, contributing to the informal agreement among the family to let Hitler's bloodline die out naturally. He maintains a private life, largely avoiding public attention, but actively participates in public speaking and activism against intolerance and hatred. Descendants have had to navigate this complex and often painful reality, balancing the desire for normalcy with the inescapable association with one of history's most infamous figures. But these are all people who had a direct relation to the Hitler bloodline. What about people who came into Adolf Hitler's life as his romantic interest? Did they have to bear the enormous burden of being associated with him? Let's see. Adolf Hitler's love life is a complex and often disturbing aspect of his personal history. His relationships were marked by possessiveness, control, and an overarching obsession with his image and political ambitions. One of the earliest significant relationships in Hitler's life was with his niece, Geli Raubal. Geli was the daughter of his half-sister and moved into Hitler's apartment as his housekeeper in Munich in 1929, where their relationship quickly evolved into a troubling dynamic. She was 17 at the time she moved in with her uncle, who was almost double her age. As Hitler's influence and obsession grew, he increasingly restricted Geli's freedoms. She was forbidden from seeing friends, attending school, or pursuing a relationship with anyone without his approval. The nature of their relationship was deeply controlling. Hitler dictated her social interactions and clothing choices. Hitler's jealousy became evident when he discovered Geli's romantic involvement with his chauffeur, Emil Maurice. He dismissed Maurice and enforced strict control over Geli's life. Adolf always deployed someone he trusted with her and, whenever possible, went on shopping trips to the cinema and opera with Geli. This intense control led to a tragic end when Geli committed suicide in 1931 when Adolf was in Nuremberg for a meeting. Adolf came back to Munich the next day, and it led to rumors of physical abuse and even a possible sexual relationship between the two. Geli's death devastated Adolf, and he went into an intense depression. Hitler later declared that Geli was the only woman he ever loved. Other than Geli, Adolf's relationship with Eva Braun is the most well documented. Braun met Hitler when she was just 17 and working as an assistant to his personal photographer. Their relationship really took off after the suicide of Geli Raubal. Their relationship was kept largely out of the public eye, and Braun lived in a state of constant seclusion and isolation. Despite this, she remained devoted to Hitler, making several suicide attempts, which some historians believe were cries for attention. Eva was devoted to Adolf, and as Nazi Germany was collapsing towards the end of the war, she swore loyalty to her lover and went to Berlin to be by his side in the heavily reinforced Führerbunker under the Reich Chancellery Garden. Eva's loyalty culminated in their marriage in a small civil ceremony in the bunker on April 29, 1945. Just one day before they both committed suicide, less than 40 hours later. Most of the public was even unaware of Eva Braun's relationship with Adolf Hitler, which only got out after their deaths. So we can conclude that mostly everybody who has in any way associated with Hitler, whether through bloodline or emotional connection, suffered badly. So, what do you have to say about this lesser-known side of Adolf Hitler's life? Write it down in the comments. Now check out my next video shown on the screen, and I'll see you there.